Introduction. The world appears stable. A mountain stands unmoving. A tree grows slowly but remains rooted. A human body seems continuous and persistent. Even the earth beneath our feet feels solid and enduring. These observations shape our intuitive belief that reality is composed of things, fixed objects that exist independently and maintain their identity over time. Yet this intuition, though natural, is incomplete. When examined more closely, the apparent stability of the world dissolves into continuous activity. The human body replaces its atoms over time. Air flows in and out with every breath. Food is consumed, transformed, and expelled. Even bones, which seem permanent, are constantly undergoing microscopic change. What appears as a stable object is, in truth, a dynamic process. The same applies at every scale. Rivers flow, winds circulate, tectonic plates shift, and ecosystems cycle, matter endlessly. Even the Earth itself is not isolated. It interacts with space, receives energy from the sun, and exchanges matter through impacts and atmospheric loss. This leads to a profound shift in perspective. Reality is not made of things. It is made of processes. This book explores that shift. It develops a unified understanding in which matter, energy, life, and structure are all expressions of a deeper, continuous phenomenon, the universal flow. Chapter 1. The nature of flow. Flow is often associated with visible motion, water in a river, air in the wind, or currents in the ocean. However, these are only surface examples. The concept of flow is far more fundamental. At its core, flow is not merely movement. It is continuous transformation. A river does not remain the same river because the same water stays in place. It remains a river because a pattern persists, while the substance continuously changes. Water molecules enter, move through, and leave. The identity of the river lies not in the material itself, but in the pattern of movement. This insight extends beyond rivers. Consider the human body. The atoms that compose it today are not the same as those from years ago, yet the structure persists. Identity is maintained not by fixed matter, but by ongoing organization. Thus, flow can be defined as the continuous transformation of matter and energy while maintaining temporary structure. Flow is everywhere. It exists in biological systems, ecological cycles, planetary dynamics, and cosmic evolution. It is not an exception in reality, it is the rule. Chapter 2. The body as flow. A human body appears as a single, unified object. It has boundaries, form, and continuity. However, this appearance masks its true nature. The body is a system of exchanges. Oxygen enters through the lungs and exits as carbon dioxide. Nutrients are absorbed, broken down, and redistributed. Cells are continuously replaced. Heat is generated and dissipated. At no moment is the body composed of the same matter. It is a dynamic system maintaining itself through flow. This reveals a deeper truth. A body is not a thing that contains matter. It is a process that organizes matter. The distinction is subtle but crucial. A static object holds its substance. A living body does not. It constantly receives, transforms, and releases matter. This perspective dissolves the boundary between the body and its environment. The air we breathe, the food we consume, and the waste we release are all part of the same continuous process. Chapter 3. From individual to earth. The same principle applies at larger scales. The earth itself can be understood as a flow system. Water evaporates, condenses, and returns as rain. Carbon cycles through the atmosphere, biosphere, and geosphere. Energy from the sun drives atmospheric and ecological processes. These cycles form a network of flows that sustain life and shape the planet. Yet these flows are not isolated. They interact, overlap, and integrate into a larger system. The Earth is not a collection of independent processes, but a unified dynamic system. Thus, the Earth is a temporary structure within a network of interconnected flows. Chapter 4. Universal Flow. Expanding further, the Earth itself is not isolated. It formed from cosmic debris, shaped by gravitational interactions and stellar processes. It continues to move through space, influenced by the sun and other celestial bodies. Over vast timescales, it will change, collide, or disintegrate, contributing its matter to new structures. The atoms that compose the Earth and all life upon it originated in stars. These atoms will eventually return to the cosmos, participating in new formations. This leads to a universal perspective. The flow of matter is not confined to Earth. It is a universal process. The universe itself is a continuous transformation. Stars form and explode, galaxies evolve, and matter cycles through countless configurations. Earth is not the center of this process. It is a local expression of it. Chapter 5. Matter and Energy. To understand flow, one must understand what drives it. Matter provides structure. It defines the arrangement of particles and forms the basis of objects. Energy enables change. It determines how matter moves, transforms, and interacts. However, neither matter nor energy alone explains flow. Flow arises from their interaction. Differences in temperature, pressure, or chemical composition create conditions for change. These differences drive processes that redistribute matter and energy. Thus, flow is the result of interactions within a system, not the property of a single component. Chapter 6. Beyond Matter, Fields. At deeper levels, even matter itself is not fundamental. Modern physics describes reality in terms of fields, entities that assign values to every point in space. These values represent measurable quantities such as force or energy. Unlike matter, fields are not substances. They do not consist of particles or occupy space in the traditional sense. Yet they are real, as they produce observable effects. An electric field, for example, can accelerate a charged particle. A magnetic field can alter motion. These effects demonstrate that fields are not passive descriptions, but active components of reality. Thus, a field is a physical state distributed across space that can change and produce effects. Matter can be understood as stable patterns within fields, while waves are dynamic changes in those fields. Chapter 7. Structure and Intelligence. As systems become more complex, new properties emerge. The progression from simple matter to complex organisms reveals a pattern: increased number of components, greater diversity of functions, enhanced connectivity, higher levels of integration. These factors contribute to the emergence of intelligence. Diversity provides potential. A system with varied components can perform a wider range of functions. However, diversity alone is insufficient. Organization determines how effectively these components interact. Thus, intelligence arises from the structured interaction of diverse components within an integrated system. Chapter 8. Life as Organized Flow. Life is not a separate category of existence, but a specific form of flow. A living system maintains its structure through continuous exchange with its environment. It regulates internal processes and adapts to external conditions. This distinguishes it from non-living systems, which do not actively maintain themselves. However, the difference is one of degree, not kind. Both living and non-living systems are expressions of the same underlying flow. Thus, life is a self-sustaining pattern within the universal flow. Chapter 9. Unity of all things. From the smallest particle to the largest galaxy, the same principle applies. Everything is part of a continuous process of transformation. What appears as separate entities are, in reality, temporary patterns within a unified system. This perspective dissolves the distinction between living and non-living, individual and environment, earth and universe. All are expressions of the same underlying flow. Chapter 10. The limits of understanding. Despite this unified view, certain questions remain unresolved. The nature of fields, the origin of their values, and the existence of awareness are not fully explained by current science. These questions mark the boundary of understanding. Recognizing this boundary is not a failure but a necessary step in inquiry. So the flowchart of what we are discussing is as follows. 1. We normally see the world as fixed things. 2. But when we look closely, nothing is truly still. 3. Bodies, trees, rivers, air, and earth are always changing. 4. So what looks like a thing is actually an ongoing process. 5. A process that keeps a shape for some time is called a flow. 6. A body is not fixed matter. It is matter continuously coming in, changing, and leaving. 7. Therefore, a living body is a structured flow. 8. The same is true for plants, animals, rivers, earth, and larger systems. 9. These flows are connected to each other through air, water, food, heat, and material exchange. 10. So many separate-looking systems are actually parts of one connected flow. 11. Earth itself is also part of a bigger cosmic process. 12. Matter on Earth came from earlier cosmic matter and will become part of future structures. 13. So the flow is not only earthly, it is universal. 14. Matter gives temporary form to things within this flow. 15. Energy allows change, movement, and transformation within this flow. 16. At deeper levels, fields help explain how interaction and movement happen. 17. More organized structures with more connected and diverse components can do more. 18. This is why simple systems have limited ability and complex living systems have higher intelligence. 19. Life is a special kind of organized, self-maintaining flow. 20. Therefore, humans, animals, plants, earth, stars, and galaxies are all temporary forms within one universal flow. 21. Final conclusion. Everything is changing, everything is connected, and everything exists as part of one continuous universal flow. Therefore, humanity is one, I am the world, and the world is me. Conclusion. Everything that exists is temporary. Bodies change, planets evolve, and stars fade. Yet the underlying process continues. The universal flow persists. What we perceive as objects are moments within that flow, temporary structures that arise, transform, and dissolve. To understand reality is to see beyond the illusion of permanence and recognize the continuous transformation that underlies all existence. Everything is flow. Everything is temporary, and everything is connected within a